Hey everyone, Michael Anthony here. Van Halen, Chickenfoot, Sammy in the Circle. But anyway, you're listening to the only podcast that is dedicated to breaking down the entire Van Halen catalog one track at a time. And the podcast will rock. Ow!
Hello, baby!
Welcome, all you rockers, rockettes, and everything in between. No matter what you are, you have joined us for a new edition of And the Podcast Will Rock. Welcome back, everybody. If it's your first time here, how'd you find us? Let me tell you what we do. We are the show that dives into the catalog and discography of one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, Van Halen, of course. And we do it one track at a time. I am your co-host, Mark Kamier. With me, as always, Corey Morissette. Corey, how you feeling? You ready to rock tonight?
I tell you what, we're going about an hour later, thanks to our special guest. He's kind of a jerk. We'll introduce him in a minute. But also this special guest has me listening to a band who I'm not going to announce and an album that I'm not going to talk about. But I had to listen to that today to prep for the show we're doing. And that kind of put me in a bad mood. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit cranky today. I'm kind of hoping we get spanked. I'm going to be honest with you.
You've been itching for spanked, no matter what, no matter how many jokes we make and how many times you say you're not wanting to do it. We know that you're secretly hoping for it. But what is not a secret is that our guest tonight is a regular contributor. He may as well be one of maybe two or three that are just honorary panelists on the show, because he's always with us, most of the time always with us for live shows. Definitely a top contributor, and we love the guy because he just has so many damn good points, and he makes really funny, awesome shirts in our merch store. You guys should go check out our merch store. Most of the designs are by this guy right here from the Tom Petty podcast, among many other things he does. Kevin Brown, welcome back to the show, my guy.
Hey, thanks for having me back on, boys. Yeah. I was thinking about it. It's been a while since I was a guest, not on a live show. That was a long time ago now.
Do you remember what song you got? What song did you get?
Yeah, it was off Audio 812. Finish What You Started was the song that we spun up. Yeah, which I was not mad about.
Nor should you have been.
No,
I like that song.
That's a damn good one.
Good one.
But I bought, I picked up 1984 on vinyl this past weekend as part of my Father's Day gift.
What the hell are you waiting for?
Well, that's the third of my top my three favorite Van Halen records I now have on vinyl. So, which is Women and Children, 5150, and 1984 now.
So I finished what you started with show 38.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Way back when, yeah.
Way back when, yeah. I guess I'm just not cool enough to join the vinyl train, because I don't have a turntable and don't have the sound system to do it. So my thought is, why buy vinyl when I can't even spin it? So maybe one day. But until that time, nope. I'll just stay here in the not so dark digital age. Not yet. It will become a dark age.
Well,
but,
I got to tell you, do not get into vinyl until after the wedding, because it'll suck your money away. You got a wedding to pay for and a young lady to keep happy. Trust me, I got married, and then I got my turntable, and now I'm constantly broke. And so is Kevin, actually. We should talk about this. This is on the Van Halen news desk, but
yes.
Brian May and company, they're releasing like every fucking minute they ever recorded from the Starfleet project that featured one Eddie Van Halen. I was taking a look at this set. Like, they only did like 3 songs, but they have like 20 takes of each song. Every single outtake, Eddie burping into the mic before he tuned up, like just everything you could possibly imagine. This thing looks cool.
I can't wait for it. It's one of those, because I talked about this on the last episode of the Queen show, actually, or the last one. But like, it's such a cool project. Brian May's got some time to kill. He goes to LA and just calls up his friend, and I love it. He always calls him Edward Van Halen. Yeah. And that's how he's listed on the record. In interviews, he always calls him Edward Van Halen, or Edward did this and Edward said that, which I just think is really funny. Yeah, and calls up, his buddies, like Spike Kenny play, or someone play keyboards. And he's got this all-star cast of musicians to just go in and sit and jam. And by the way, guys, how about we do this kids TV theme that my kid loves? And it's just fantastic. And I'm a huge sucker for all those, outtakes and retakes, and because just I think seeing the evolution of a song, I think is always really interesting to see, because you can sometimes see, they've made a creative decision there to either drop the drums to halftime or to put a break in, or to, you know what I mean? So I just love listening to that. And so we're getting everything, and I cannot wait.
Like every little thing, it's as if everyone walked into the room, they hit record and just never stopped. That is pretty impressive and pretty amazing. Like if you're a fan of Queen, regardless, if you're a fan of Van Halen, why wouldn't you check this out? Just to have the two somewhat merged together, all for the world to hear, for the world to see. That's some good stuff, man. I'm looking forward to listening to this as well. So cool. Anything else on the news desk going on?
Oh, there's a few things. There's actually a little clip of Brian May talking about the first time he witnessed Edward Van Halen back in 1978 when Van Halen was opening for Black Sabbath, and he got to meet Eddie through Tony Iommi. So you can check out that clip on the Van Halen news desk. Also, we have Sammy Hagar talking about his solo album, I Never Said Goodbye, that featured Eddie Van Halen and a couple tracks we know, and Give to Live and Eagles Fly. Also, Sammy Hagar, this is a great piece of news, getting his long awaited and much deserved star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Woo! Along with Def Leppard, Glenn Ballard, Gwen Stefani, Tony Braxton, Darius Rucker of Hootie and the Blowfish fame, Dr. Dre, Brandy Norwood, and Charles Fox. So good on him.
You put Gwen Stefani's name in the same group as all of those people?
That's
okay. You
right.
should know the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Literally, you need like 100 signatures and like $200. Like it's not a big.
Fair
thing.
enough.
Yeah.
I know. It's just kind of like the idea of and look, I apologize to the listeners if you are just diehard No Doubt fans or Gwen herself, but I do not. I've never understood any of that appeal. So different strokes, I guess.
I like that first album, that first Tragic Kingdom, I think was the first album. There's some good stuff on there, but as soon as she saw those dollar bills, man, she just went off and started making pop records. And it's like, whatever.
The problem with the band for me, though, is just like it was a losing battle because I'm not into ska music. And, the ska train like came and went. I just let it pass.
Didn't get your ticket. Well, you know what's going to say, though, Corey, what we should do? I mean, we've got one of Nashville's own musical legends here. If we can rustle up $200 and 100 signatures, we should get Mark Kamara a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I was
right there. Let's do
the
it.
same thing. Yeah, absolutely. Right?
I'm just thinking of the hilarity of people walking by and go like, "Who the hell is that?
Who's this guy?
A star of the Walk of Fame." Is like, there I am. I made it. I did it. Like, who the fuck are you?
Even funnier will be Mark Kamara sitting in a lawn chair right beside it, making sure nobody puts out their cigarette on his star. Keep moving, buddy.
I'll put chicken wire around it or something, just keep people away. I'm like, put like a nice little potted plant that I'm sure my fiance will give to me. It'll be great. It'll be awesome.
There you go. A couple other articles on the Van Halen news desk. Wolfgang Van Halen released another track off of Mammoth 2. This one's called Take a Bow. And if you listen to that guitar solo, it sounds a little familiar. It sounds like it came right from Van Halen 1 because he uses the original Frankenstrat, and he's running it through the same amp in the same cabinet that Eddie used on that record. So I have the album. I have it ordered on vinyl, signed by Wolfgang. That's going to be coming on release day, but I also have it on iTunes. So I was able to check that out, and it's really, really good. So a lot of good stuff. Neil Sean has a tribute to Eddie Van Halen on the Van Halen news desk too. So go and check all that out. David Lee Roth released another video. Kevin Brown, you tagged us in it, and you asked what the fuck was going on, and I couldn't even muster up a response because I had no idea. And that's been all of his videos lately. Like, what the fuck is this?
That was literal same. Like, it's like I have nothing to contribute to this at all. I'm just sort of witnessing it.
It's one of those things that if you saw that on your old uncle's Facebook page, you'd be like, we need to get Uncle to a facility and get him checked out because something's going on with Uncle. He's lost his fucking mind. We need to get him taken care of. Like.
100%. And our good friend Tom pointed out, Dave seems happy doing it, so I'm fine with it. And I was kind of like, as long as you're happy, Dave, go right ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure fantastic. He seems happy doing it. Yeah. I don't think there's a lot. I'm not implying Dave is an unintelligent man. I'm just simply implying that he's had a long and hard life, and maybe some of the brain cells he's supposed to be keeping around just aren't. So he's going to be enjoying as much as possible, whether we like it or not. And the consensus is no, we do not. But you do you, Dave. You keep on doing it. Be your weird self. We embrace the weird. You can be boring when you're dead.
So weird.
But, yeah. So there's that. But just to add to the Wolfgang thing, the force is strong with that one, and by force I mean just the bloodline of the Van Halen-ness runs through him greatly. So I'm very much anticipating that new record. So what say we move on over to the poll?
Yes, let's do that. You're No Good is the song we covered last week. We kind of anticipated it was around 80. We kind of figured we were going to be 80 positive, 20 negative. We're pretty close. 84% What Dreams Are Made Of, 16% This Dream Is Over. So it's actually a little higher than I was anticipating. But like you had pointed out, Mark, the covers don't seem to be real popular on the polls. So pleasantly surprised it was as high as it was.
Yeah, it's like you said, yeah, I don't know what it is about Van Halen cover songs that just at least for people voting in on these polls we do, it's kind of lacking. It's lacking as opposed to the enthusiasm we feel from people based on Van Halen originals. And I get that. I completely get that, but I don't know. I still maintain the idea that the covers Van Halen do are still so uniquely them that if you didn't know that was a cover, then you're going to automatically assume that's a Van Halen song. I feel like they've done that pretty well with at least all of the covers that we've covered so far on the show. So, hey, what do you want? But still 84%, that's respectable, I would say, but I want to know what everybody's talking about on our Twitter. If you want your tweet guaranteed read based on our poll, join our Patreon. That's right. We talk about the Patreon every week because we got one and because we think we can find a tier for you that will make you happy, keep you entertained. And don't take my word for it. Check it out. I'm going to go through the list of patrons right now. We got Matt Lacasse, I'm sorry, Nate from the Deep Purple Podcast, Rava Flav, our buddy Josh. You'll hear him again soon. He'll be back on the panel. Greg Zito, Michael Griffith, Chaz Mataz, aka Chaz Charles, Sean McGinnity from Meet the Geeks, Per Lineker, Scott Monroe, Ryan Powell, Jeff Brewer, and of course our guest tonight, Kevin Brown. So Kevin, I'll just ask you directly, even if you tweeted it, I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to ask you, You're No Good, yay, nay, and your thoughts.
I gave it a very marginal Dream Is Over.
Aha.
And there is a tipping point for this. So I'll say the first thing is that I actually didn't realize it was a cover. And when you said it was a cover and you said whose it was, I was like, oh shit, of course it is. And so immediately I thought, oh, yeah, of course I've heard that song. But I remember like the first million times I listened to this song, I didn't think it was a cover. Now, I agree with your comments, Mark, on the episode. You said that those first two Van Halen records, they really are one piece, right? I mean, they're taking a lot of those songs that they had, I think, in the bag already, and they split them out over two records. But I think almost all of the really, really strong tracks are on Van Halen 1. It's not to say Van Halen 2 is a poor record, but this one, the thing that tips it for me is just Dave screeching. It gets to the point where I'm like, I just can't deal with it anymore. I mean, it's okay here and there, but he does it so often. And it's like, I can't listen to it. It just drives me nuts. So I don't hate it. I don't love it. So it's just on the wrong side for me. I was trying to be a little bit, I just a little bit honest with myself,
Hey, you should always be honest, and you are not one to shy away from giving the song the downvote when everyone else is saying, yeah, all right, that's pretty good, and you just no, and I'll tell you why, and that's what we appreciate about you, Kevin. At least you have a reason as to why. And it's funny that you say Dave's screeching, as you call it in this song, bothered you so bad because, based on what we've heard in the comments, in the tweets, or just having conversations with our listeners, a lot of the times that's sort of the Dave signature they're looking for. Maybe not the screeching per se, but a lot of the howling, the signature Dave stuff, the Rothisms, if you will. they love that shit. They are all about it. So much so that they prefer that over the sweet serenading tones of Sammy Hagar. I don't get it, but fair enough. So there you go. There's one from Kevin Brown who just very barely gave it a no.
Well, let me just say that Dave's howls and screeches, they're like manure, right? Manure, when it's sprinkled liberally over a wide area in a field and it's used sparingly, it's very, very useful. It's very healthy and it helps things to grow. When it's all condensed into one place, it's just a big steaming pile of shit is all you're left with. And that's all. That's my last word on it. I won't say any more than that.
Well, that is such a sweet way of saying how shitty someone sounds. So very poetic. Let's see if other people have such poetry in their commentary. Sean Geek and Fast Rep Podcast, Sean McGinnity again says, I agree with Corey. Not the strongest track on the album, but it is a track of Van Halen 2, so what's not to like? And yes, another song with another reason to praise Alex and Mikey. The high-pitched squeal from Dave is great, matched by Eddie on guitar. But it also explains why Dave lost his voice over the years, that and the cocaine. 100% agreed on all fronts, but there you go. Right off the bat, Sean hits you with the screech. He loves the screech, he says. So let's see if anybody else agrees with that assessment. Going through here, looking for our people that are patrons. Scott Monroe says hashtag manifest, or I'm sorry, not manifest. That's later. He said hashtag manifesto inbound. So here we go. A mini manifesto says, I love the foreboding bass and cymbal intro. You just know the heat is coming. It's a perfect opener, though I wouldn't have been mad with Light Up the Sky as the first track, as your guest suggested, and as they did to open the 2015 concert I attended. Anyway, the centerpiece of the song for me is the call and response section between Dave and Eddie Van Halen. They are rock and roll gods as the high register shrieks and searing guitar notes clash back and forth in the heavens. This is also a great sonic representation of the lyrics. Eddie's crooning, scatterbrained solo fits the emotional swings of the melancholy tune. The harmonies, as usual, are on point and so essential to the Van Halen sound. It's what dreams are made of among many titans on this album, and an inspired cover choice. No good? Nah, it's so good. We can always count on Scott to bring us such a diatribe of poetic words. But it sounds like he was a fan. So good job there, Scott. Chaz Mataz says, I feel a sense of loss that we never had a David Lee Roth / Linda Ronstadt duet. I mean, yeah, I see where your head's at. Something similar a la Alison Krauss, Robert Plant, perhaps, except for a little more unhinged because David Lee Roth is unhinged.
Remember, Chaz does a podcast about Metallica and Lou Reed and Lulu.
This is also true. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. That little.
Now I've just got visions of. I got visions of the Billy Idol bit on The Wedding Singer. I can see Dave Lee Roth saying to Linda Ronstadt, "Do you know what the Mile High Club is?"
Hey, Linda Ronstadt was a looker in her day. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I just somewhere there's an alternate world where maybe that did happen, and I would like to visit and listen to that album. Jeff Brewer says all-time worst intro to a Van Halen song and my least favorite tune on Van Halen 2. I think this was an odd choice for a cover tune, but this Van Halenized version is easily cool enough to avoid a downvote. I couldn't imagine any other way to lead into Dance the Night Away. Okay, so he's not crazy about it, at least in the placement of the album, but couldn't give it a downvote, which is kind of the opposite, a little bit of the opposite reasoning Kevin gave.
And one of the few to say all-time worst intro. A lot of people say I'm in the minority in saying I like the intro. And the majority of the comments, actually, I think, enjoy the intro and enjoy it as the opener for the album. I think after we listened to it, Mark, you and I kind of came on board with that too. Like as an opener, it's pretty cool. It's a little different. There's nothing wrong with a little different. No.
Different is good. It shows the dynamics of the band. You know, they are multifaceted. We've mentioned that before, and that I think that's a perfect example as to how to demonstrate it. So,
but a couple of people brought that up though too about it like as an album opener, that's sometimes where it sticks in my brain as well. I think Light Up the Sky should be your album opener, and that song would open side 2 better, maybe. Because it is like a really, it's quite ponderous to start. Like it doesn't really, Van Halen, you're expecting to get your face melted off in the first 3 seconds, right? And you don't get really anything for the first 10. So
okay,
I don't know.
You've got me listening to some shit right now that would open just like this, wouldn't it?
Hey, whoa. But that's not party rock. That's prog rock.
It's fucking something. I'll tell you that. But remember, I
just watched this.
I just listened to an album that I'm not the biggest fan of. You're going to hear it coming soon whenever Kevin and I decide to drop it.
So be on the lookout for that. And I'll read a couple more from Kyle Anderson. He says it fits on Van Halen 2. Maybe not the best opener for Van Halen 2, but I can dig this cover. So again, I don't think he downvoted, but very much not keen on it opening the album. So, I think that's a fair assessment. And then finally from our friend Brad Gould, another great cover, Van Halen style. Love the bass intro and the call and repeat between Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth. So it's easy to see that most people gave this, let's just call it a pass. Most people seem to give this a pass because while it may not be the best Van Halen cover and it may not be the best opening track for Van Halen 2, it was still good enough for most people that it's a worthy What Dreams Are Made Of entry. Kevin Brown, on the other hand, felt, not good enough. Not going to give it to you.
It was close.
I know,
it was close, man.
I know, just busting your balls because it's what we do.
But thank you for taking a hard stance one way or the other. So many people like, you should have a middle option. Fuck the middle option.
Fuck the middle option. No, it's all black and white. This world. We don't operate in the gray.
There is no nuance in music in art.
Kevin gets a ton of that on his Queen show, Seaside Pod Review, which much more popular than our show. He takes our format and then just makes it 100 times better.
Makes it better.
And leaves us in the dust.
Come on.
But really? It seems like every week someone's like, you need a middle option. It's like an itch in my brain. No, you don't.
No. Just make it. Yeah, take a stand, make an educated, like a formal educated decision, and just stick with it, or at least stick with it for a while.
There's something nice though about just telling people, nah.
You want that?
Oh, I love it.
Would you like that? Fuck you. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, fuck off. No. So
it's a very John Mariano way to. I was on the latest Aerosmith show. I was reading some of the reviews, and one person mentioned in a positive review that John and I were somewhat funny. And we spend way too long getting to the song. So now John just really extends the intro. So we're not talking about the music until 40 minutes in now. It's awful.
So that is, if nothing else, please, dear listeners of Podcastle Rock, head on over to Backtracks Aerosmith just to leave like something nice to say to Corey, because every time there's something negative, Mariano's going to run with it. And you hear what Corey is, what he's being put through over there, but I don't know.
Oh, it's getting testy. It's getting testy over there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue on with that show. Here I'm amongst friends. Everybody's nice, but you got Scott and John are fire and water, and I'm in the middle like lukewarm water.
Well, eventually you'll be able to make the ultimate decision when the Deep Dive Podcasting Network starring Corey Morissette comes to fruition, and you can just make all the decisions. Yeah, the CMPU. It is growing. It is vast. Mariano, your days, I'm sure, are numbered. So he's gonna relegate you just to a solo show where you rant by yourself, and that's fine. I'd still tune into that maybe once or twice. But not enough about that. It's time to get to the main meat of the show. But before we spin that wheel, it's time to do our most other favorite thing: manifest the song we want to hear. The manifestations. That's right. Take a drink, everybody. Now we have since we have a Patreon, we have a Discord, and on the Discord you can make your own manifestations. So Corey, if you don't have that pulled up, I will have it pulled up in a moment. We can look at the manifestations. Anybody manifesting anything other than Pleasure Dome?
Yeah, Scott Minifesto Monroe. I'm glad he took Minifesto, which is a term I coined last week, and he's running with it. He wants What I Want. And he has a little picture from Van Halen 3. So there you go. He's hoping for some Van Halen 3 tonight. Our good friend, Mr. Brewer, What I want is not the one I want. I want something with a little more incendiary. Atomic Punk would fit that bill. If there's one word to describe Atomic Punk, I think incendiary would be it. And Per Lineker wants Pleasure Dome, and he says, why not? He likes the song. He's curious what everyone's problem with it. So let me be clear. And Mr. Brewer again kind of said, maybe it's the vocal delivery, 100%. The music on that song, I think, is great. And it's a fantastic drum solo on Live Right Here, Right Now, which Kevin can attest. He has the vinyl reissue as well as I do. But Sammy's not singing on that. And Sammy ruins that song for me. So just to tip my hand a little bit, that's why I'm maybe a little bit more negative on Pleasure Dome. Of course, we haven't covered it yet. I'll talk more in depth when we get to it, but I wouldn't mind Pleasure Dome because, like I said, musically, it's fan-fucking-tastic.
I just want to see what your face is going to do while we're listening to it, while we get to like certain bits and when we start talking about it. Like that's ultimately why I want to spin it so bad. But that's not what I'm going to manifest. Just a quick sidebar, since we were talking about the Discord. There's apparently if we were to play the first minute of Beautiful Girls by Extreme, evidently Kevin is just ready to just eviscerate this song. And I just want to ask the man himself, since he's right here, Kevin, why?
Have you okay? My question quickly back is, you haven't heard it. Okay, yeah, listen to it. It is
that's it. That's like you listen to it.
It's appalling.
Oh,
it's one of those songs where, honestly, like so I listened to the album. Everyone's been talking about it. I thought, well, I'll give it a listen on the plane as I'm traveling to Charlottetown for my work. And I thought, while I'm doing that, I'll take some notes because, we like talking about music and I think I have half a musical ear. So get through, and there's some stuff on there that is phenomenal. Nuno's fucking Nuno, man. Like, the guy's god level. He's untouchable. It's fantastic. Some of the songs are a bit, I don't care for this one. That's okay. I don't mind this, whatever. Get to that one, and it was like, what is this? What is this, and why does this exist? Can we burn it with all the fire in the world? The lyrics are atrocious. They're juvenile lyrics. It's a great Nuno solo, but even that can't save it. The bridge, I got to the bridge, I'm like, if this is going to keep going this way, I don't think I can carry on. And I literally turned it off with a minute and a half to go, which, as a music critic, I mean, you guys got through once, and fucking how many say I, and you didn't shut it off. I couldn't listen to the rest of that song. That's how bad it was. It was brutal.
Look, I wanted to shut off both of those songs like almost immediately, and the more it went on, the more angry I got. So I guess my last follow-up question to that before I make my own journey, because now I'm just so intrigued that I have to hear it. Is this how would you rank the Beautiful Girls track next to a Van Halen 3 track? Like, would you say Beautiful Girls is a step above at least Van Halen 3, or is it a few steps back?
I would say that very genuinely, I would pretty much rather listen to anything off Van Halen 3.
Wow, even once?
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
even
it's that bad.
How many say I?
I'm kind of there with them. I kind of agree with Kevin.
It's
wow.
I want to hear your opinion on this next time. The next, give it a listen.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do some homework. And listeners, if you want to join in on this, we'll figure out if "Beautiful Girls" by Extreme is an apologies to Gary worthy moment, or if it's just fuck all of this. According to Kevin, it's a fuck it. But
it's when old rockers try to do something so far outside the wheelhouse and also get it wrong. It's one of those songs where it's like, oh my God, what are you doing?
So it's Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy.
I don't know if it's that bad,
but worse.
It's worse. Very few things are worse than that, but oof. Okay, we'll put that in the back pocket.
It's just wrong. It just wasn't. I honestly, like, the first thing actually I thought was like, are they doing? Is this like have they covered an Ed Sheeran or like a Justin Timberlake song here? Because it was that kind of
right.
It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, what? You've got this guy who can actually write good lyrics, and you got Nuno Bettencourt, who's a shredder and really fucking good band, and they're doing this. I'm out. And the last two tracks in the album are just wank. Is what they are.
I can't speak on the missteps of Nuno, but as we have discovered and as we've talked about several times on this show, Gary is not without his missteps, very famously in relevance to this show, the Van Halen 3 album. But we're not going to think about that because I am not manifesting. We're so close to the end with that album, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I don't want to hear it tonight. Instead, Kevin, what do you want to manifest on the show tonight?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to manifest, what I want to listen to, and then I'm going to tell you what I think the wheel's going to give us.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
What I want to hear and what I'm going to manifest is Summer Nights,
Yeah.
because that is a fantastic song. It's one of the reasons I love 5150 so much. What I think the wheel's going to give us is Josephina. That's what I think is going to
Damn it,
happen.
No, don't put that evil out. I'm trying to just like clear it. I'm trying to clear the slate here. No. Fuck. Hell. We might have big jinx. Who knows? Corey, what say you? What do you want to manifest with all of your might?
Well, you know, I was thinking it's been a while since we did a Sammy song proper. Last one we did is Right Now. That was back in the 70s. I can't remember exactly what show it was. So it's been a while. So Summer Nights would be a great one. A political blues, just maybe get it off the wheel. That'd be all right. But I kind of want to roll House of Pain, because then we finish off 1984. And actually on our Discord, and I can't remember exactly who it was, so I won't misquote them, but it was either Ryan or Scott or somebody really cool said, when you finish an album, we should do a show ranking the tracks from that album. I thought that sounds like a great idea for a live show where we could bring on all of our patrons and they can give us their rankings on 1984. Ala, kind of what Sean Geek does. We're going to steal a little bit from the Sean Geek and Fast Rap podcast on that one. So if we finish off an album, the next live show, we're going to rank that album. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. So we got one track left on 1984. Let's roll a little House of Pain. That's what I'm hoping for.
Not angry at that. I would really like a track from a particular album. So I'm going to manifest a song from this album, but it's not the one I want to like really, really hear. But if I feel like it's like reverse psychology. If I manifest a different one, I'll get the one that I actually want. So instead, I'm going to go with I'm going to manifest The Dream Is Over. I'm going to manifest The Dream Is Over because I want to hear another song from the fuck album and maybe it'll work out. So now if we do land on The Dream Is Over, I wouldn't be mad at it. But we got so much to go through and I want to talk about it. I love that album. So if you're ready, Kevin, if you're ready, get Sammy warmed up back there and get that wheel primed if it's not already. Let's see. Kevin, how many times have you been on the show as a guest?
Oh dear God. 4. I think it's 4.
All right. Let's do 4.
4 primes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
What the shit?
Wait, I think I played the wrong song.
It's not even spinning. The wheel's not spinning. It's just, I mean, it is, but it's not.
Fuck you, Corey.
Enjoy. Everybody enjoy the beautifulness.
All around the world, there are so many beautiful girls.
Fuck, this is extreme.
All around the world,
Yep.
there are so many beautiful, beautiful girls.
It gets worse.
Pack my bags, hit the road, gonna search the world. On a mission, I gotta find the
Perfect girl.
Lighting up in the road. Well, she could be in Tokyo.
All right, there you go.
Hey,
Is all he
Kevin
could
might have
say.
had a point.
no apologies to Gary. Fuck Gary.
Yeah, like my brain hurts.
Doesn't get better, mate. It does not get better.
I'm
That's the whole
baffled by
song.
that.
Yep.
Oh,
Lyrically, like you mentioned, Kevin, lyrically, what it is, all around the world, there are so many beautiful girls. It's just that, like over and over again.
okay, so that happened. How about we spin the wheel for real so I can get that out of my brain as quick as possible?
You know what? I had that all primed up, and then you had to bring up the whole fucking beautiful girl things beforehand. It was going to be a big surprise for Kevin.
Damn it. Well, I just wanted to engage in an intriguing conversation, and now I'm sorry I ever brought it up.
All right, let's do this for real.
Here we go.
We are good. Oh, it was almost Josephina.
no. Oh.
We're going to a different kind of truth and blood and fire.
Oh,
That was close, Kevin.
if we have
We were-
any
we were
lurkers,
close.
you can see it, but those who can't see, you don't realize how close I was to try to jump through my screen and strangle this man. I was like, why would you do that? Oh,
Man, we
thank God.
We had a few good tracks either side of this though that we could have got.
When It's Love, You Really Got Me was
Got
right there.
Me,
Human
House of
Being.
Pain is close. Summer Nights
Nights
wasn't a
right
million
there.
miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there by Dance the Night Away. Yeah, it's just holy shit.
All right, so a different kind of truth. I haven't covered one of these in a while, Mark.
It has been a while. I'm trying to think of the last track from this album that we did. I cannot recall.
Going all.
But
the
luckily
way
we
back.
have-
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Tattoo. Oh god, yeah.
Tattoo.
That
It was
fucking-
wow, it was
Tattoo on the live
Tattoo.
That fucking song.
Tattoo, which was the 70-30 split. And what did I give that an upvote or a no? I can't really. I said
Tattoo.
yes, but barely.
Yeah, you were yes. Yeah.
I just remember not being crazy about it, but it wasn't so awful that I was like, no. But yeah, okay. So this album for me, once again, I've mentioned before, is like this one didn't really get a lot of spins. And the most I've heard from this album definitely comes from what we have covered. So I've got no particular feelings about the track we're about to listen to. I don't know if you guys have anything in particular. Kevin, anything significant about the song you want to mention before we get into it?
No, the first time I listened to this album actually was after I started listening to this podcast, to be honest. Like I knew Van Halen had released another album, but as I was a Sammy guy, not a Dave guy, I was like, I don't know if I want to listen to that. And it was in my hiatus, so I never listened to it. So I don't really know the track. So it's going to be, I'm listening with
fair.
a fairly fresh pair of ears.
All right, freshness. How about you, Corey?
Kind of the same. Like I said, different kind of truth. I listened to a couple of times when it first came out, so I knew kind of the big ones off there, like Tattoo and Chinatown and that kind of thing. But Blood and Fire, I just remember enjoying. I think it came from the Wildlife Film Score, a song called Ripley, if I remember correctly. Little bits of it there with Alex, I think, played on that as well. So this is dated, I think, around the mid 80s, probably before 1984. The original, but that they repurposed. Of course, some of these tracks on this album were repurposed from the 70s and 80s, and which piss a lot of people off for some reason. We talked about this with Michael on the last show. Like, you know, bands dust off demos all the time and release them on later albums. Right, it happens all the time. So I don't know why people got so upset about Van Halen doing it, but.
Because it's Van Halen, and people, as we have discovered through the show, it turns out there's certain parts of this band and parts of the music that people hold a little too sacredly, so sacred that any sort of deviation that goes beyond what their brains have established that this is Van Halen and nothing else, they can't be bothered with it, and it's like it's an abomination. So no, absolutely none of that, nothing different. Nothing new. It's like, and to those people, I just say, okay.
I do wonder though if when it's with that kind of stuff, like this is a different kind of truth. So when you're going back to, because when was that released? Was it 2012? 2012. So you're going back almost 30 years. Sometimes I wonder if it's just like, well, we've literally got nothing else. Like if you're taking parts of something, you know what I mean? But if you're taking parts of things and working them into songs, that's one thing. But when you're going back, there's a reason why probably they didn't do anything with that back in 84. So I was a little bit on the fence about that. So I'll be kind of curious to see. And the stuff off this album that we've heard or that you've covered so far that has been based on old material. You can definitely tell. Like it sounds like, you know, older Van Halen, which is cool. Yeah. It's good to get that sort of snapshot back to those riffs and things. But I'll hold my judgment, but I'm looking forward to what this track has to throw up.
Yeah, it could be intriguing or it could be very dull.
I found the passage here. Thanks again to the Van Halen News Desk. Yes, it was from the Wildlife Film Score. It was known as Ripley back then, and it was the one song that had Alex Van Halen on the drums from that score. It was written around 1983, and it is rumored to have been one of the handful of songs in consideration for 1984. So,
okay.
Now it's called Blood and Fire, and it was released on 2012's A Different Kind of Truth. So here we go.
All right.
I don't mean to cut in so quick, but in the lurker chat, Josh, going back to Beautiful Girls, asked, did Extreme beat up Sugar Ray for those lyrics? Which I thought was a great comment.
Brilliant.
Oh, man. Remember Sugar Ray? I remember Sugar Ray.
Every morning there's a...
Oh, don't do it, Corey.
Always tell the winners, saints and the sinners down at the starting line. I'm a lucid vision of
that low end is real close in the mix, wouldn't you say? Like it almost kind of at least from my headphones here, sort of buries whatever Eddie is doing, which is that's not a good start for me. First of all.
Well, the production on this album generally has been something I think you guys have commented on lots. It's something, again, when you listen to it, it's not great. Like who did produce this one?
This was Van Halen largely, but John Shanks worked on it as well.
Okay.
And it's been a while since we had covered from this album, so I had completely forgotten that the production was lacking, so to speak.
I always like the production on this one. It's just, well, like you said, Eddie's a little behind in the mix, but I wasn't really mad at it because I was digging the groove. I was also trying to find a good lyric site because the one I was on was nowhere fucking close. We almost had another play Splat and Bone moment.
Just Google, man. Just straight up Google.
What I would say musically though is it's cool. Like at first I like the way it started because it's got shades of little guitars. It's almost got that picked sort of staccato kind of thing that Ed's doing. I'm liking that side of things so far. Musically, I think it sounds pretty damn cool. And it's in that range where Dave's not having to stretch too far where he can't hit it. They're sitting in that mid range where he can actually sing there. Or you can get the take close enough in the studios.
There you go. Yeah. But it is reminiscent of Diver Down leading into 1984, isn't it? It kind of gives you that I think Van Halen Newsdeck said it's kind of like, driving around with the top down and, your arm out the window, cruising around on a summer night type vibe to it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
We came through blood and fire. We came through blood and fire. Now look at all of the people here tonight.
That's kind of cool, the structure of that, right? Because that now look at all the people here tonight. You feel like that's going to be the first line in the next verse, but it's like a little weird coda at the end of the chorus, which I always like those little things that people throw in and just to subvert the form a wee bit. I thought that was pretty cool.
It's very cool. Now I'm on a call here with two actually pretty decent singers. I've heard Mark sing before, but Kevin, I've been listening to some of your stuff, and the track they just played at the end of the Sean Geek show that you were on this past week. Really fucking cool, man. You got some pipes on you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Don't hold back. What do you think about David Lee Roth and his delivery of this song so far?
I think it suits his voice, man. Like that's. I was talking to my friend Randy about the latest. Did you see Guns N' Roses at Glastonbury? This is a bit of a diversion. Did you see Guns N' Roses at Glastonbury? And we're talking about Axl, how bad Axl Rose was. Like he's got nothing left. Like his voice is just shot completely, right? And with people who sing this way and are not necessarily brilliant live singers to begin with, I do think they have to manage that. But this song's right in that sweet spot for Dave, I think. Dave does this sort of almost like a slightly just above tenor thing really, really well. And when he leans into it, it sounds fucking cool, man. This sounds kind of like old Dave Lee Roth, like he's not. So I think vocally, and it's great. I'm enjoying it.
There was a little crackle a bit on that chorus on Blood and Fire that it felt like things were kind of fall apart, but he recovered nicely.
I would say I would completely reiterate everything Kevin just said. One exception though, it's if he was trying to do a lot of the old Dave stuff, a lot of the howls, a lot of the like
no
shrieks
chance,
and whatever. Yeah, like you'd have lost me. He'd have lost me on this track.
Yeah.
It was like, stop doing that. That you can't do that at this point anymore. And also, it would not fit in the song. And because for a moment there, I could not. It didn't give me 84 vibes whatsoever. Like for a moment there, I was like, oh, okay. It sounds like Van Halen, but a sort of modernized, 2012 sort of approach. I can kind of hear it. Okay. Now granted, when the chorus kicked in, it's like, oh, I see. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There's 80s Van Halen for you. But I'm glad that Dave is not doing the unnecessary, let's call it ornamentation that he would normally do back in the 80s for a track like this, because if he did do it, it would not come off very well. He wouldn't be able to hit the notes he's going after, and I think the song would ultimately suffer for it. Now we're not done with the song, so things could still happen, but for the time being,
He's doing that thing that you love too, though, right? He was just repeating the same thing in the chorus. You're a big fan of that, right, Mark?
Well, yeah, I I respect people who can. I get less is more. And Roth does that very well in terms of choruses, where it's just as long as it's catchy, all you got to do is say the title over and over again. And if it's catchy, then people will run with it. Look at Running with the Devil. I mean, it's like there's nothing to that. Just to name one example. So it's not that I love it. I just I can respect it if it's done tastefully. So
It's a wonderful, that is what's expected. None of them know it or even suspect it. God must love the lazy, shiftless and the crazy. Put so many in high. Ooh, yeah. We came through blood and fire. We came through blood and fire. Now look at all of the people here tonight.
I've just figured it out. Like we talk lots about, we listen to songs about pre-chorus. When you build into a chorus, well, that's like a post-chorus, which again, I don't know that I've heard that too often. I think I know I'm fixating on this thing, but I think that's super cool. Just putting that in there.
Cool.
It's neat. So I've never steal that from my little bag of tricks, Mark. Next time I write a song, I might do a post-chorus.
do a post-chorus, yes. And we'll know where it comes from.
There you go. I found a little trivia for an aborted 2000 reunion. Do you guys know about this? Van Halen almost got back together with Dave in 2000 with Michael Anthony.
Yeah.
And they came pretty close to finishing an album, and this track was one of the songs demoed for it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what is that from the MTV fiasco?
No, that was like 96, right?
Okay, right.
Yeah, Best of Volume 1 came out in 96, but Michael Anthony said he wasn't sure if they had a complete album's worth, but they were pretty close. And this is one of the songs that ended up on A Different Kind of Truth that was demoed that day. Apparently the others, God, I just had it here. Now I lost it. Were As Is, Honey Baby Sweetie Doll, and The Trouble with Never.
Interesting.
Oh, huh. No, I didn't know about that. But it's a shame it didn't. I guess. Well, I don't know if it's a shame it didn't occur, or if it was a blessing in disguise that it didn't happen. I don't know.
Forgotten empires, lost victories long past. Every time I bloomed again, I thought it was the last.
You know what we've not talked about so far is Al's drums, and they sound great on this record. They sound crisp.
They do.
It kind of sounds like Fuck Era a little bit. Like it's got that production of it is good, which again, we've talked about the production on this, and you're talking, Mark, about that low end really early on, but there's a good separation in this section. Like I can hear everything, although the bass is a little bit slightly muddy. Is it Ed playing bass on this, or is it Wolf? Who's playing bass on this record?
Wolf is.
It's Wolfie? Okay.
Yeah.
Which, because the bass part's great, but again, I think that's what's throwing me back to 84 is those drums. It sounds like a 1984 drum part that Al's playing, you know?
You can always tell a Van Halen song by either Eddie's guitar or
Yeah.
Alex's drums, right?
Yeah.
Especially that snare sound. But I was focusing on the lyrics because they didn't make a fucking lick of sense to me. And again, Kevin had me listening to a band today where their lyrics don't make a lick of sense. Here we had
You're not letting this go, are you?
Forgotten Empires, Long Victories, Long Past. Every time I bloomed again, I thought it was the last. And then something crazy happens and boom, I'm doing the victory dance.
Well, you know what he's talking
I
about there,
mean-
Corey, is he's talking about the sort of transitory nature of success and victory,
Oh, okay.
especially as opposed to a 14th century Roman battle, because when victory is assured and we think we've won, then actually we've only won part of the battles. I don't fucking know what he's talking about.
Well, that is very pretentious of you, Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Hey, don't look at me. Every time I try to bring up Dave's lyrics, everyone just counters with, "Yeah, but up for breakfast though," and I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." Every time.
You know
Two
what?
things
Sometimes,
can be true. Up for breakfast can suck, and these lyrics
Yeah.
can also potentially suck.
but lyrics don't have to necessarily be narrative either, right? They can just because Sting does this quite a lot, where like Spirits in the Material World, you listen to those lyrics or read those lyrics, like the fuck does this mean? But the
You're
cadence of them, the way he sings them, They fit, and that's Dave. I'll give Dave that. Even
He
when
does
his
that
lyrics don't
very
make
well.
sense, he fit. They melodically they just work right
Yeah,
where the syllables
does
are
that very
placed
well.
and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean,
That's a strength.
my one of my favorite bands is Deftones, and if you ever looked at Deftones lyrics, you might think like, I don't know what the hell Chino's talking about right here. It's like, no, and you don't have to, because it's the way that
Yeah.
he's singing it, and it's the cadence at the end of the verses and it's the choruses. It's what he's doing. It's not so much that the words are supposed to make sense to you.
Yeah.
It's just listen to what he's saying or how he's saying. So in that regard, I can forgive it sometimes. Sometimes I can forgive it, but I have to at least acknowledge when shit is wacky. I let Corey do it first, and I'm glad he did it first, because like eventually it was going to come out. But yeah,
And then something crazy happens, and boom! I'm doing the victory dance. Told you I was coming back.
yikes.
Say you miss me. Say it like you mean it.
So
Okay, calm down.
that
Getting a
man,
little
Calm
darker.
down, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
told you I was coming back.
Little scary. I told you I was coming back. Like, oh God, not that, please, Dave. No, not that again.
It was the creepy told you, the whispered told you after that, right?
Told you.
Told you.
Yeah, told you I was come back. Told you. Yeah. He's like, say it like you mean. Like, oh God.
my
What
God.
do you? What's? I don't like what's happening here. Like
This
just-
isn't a loving relationship anymore. Dave's choking
No,
us, and I
this
don't
is-
like it. What's our
No.
safe word?
isn't this Dave talking to the fans?
Yeah,
But saying he's coming
told you I
back to
was
Van
coming
Halen,
back,
right? So
yeah.
it's not.
I
don't know.
suppose so.
It's not.
but
It's not sex creepy. It's Dave creepy. And there's an intersect. There is a Venn diagram, but you know.
There is.
It's
Venn
kind of
diagram. Yeah,
both.
you're
It's
right.
like he's got his hands
It
around
is.
our neck saying,
It is.
say you missed me. Like, fucking buy
mean-
me supper first, you creepy fuck.
It's like, no, he said he came through blood and fire, so you have to listen and watch his victory dance. He's gonna dance right in front of you, the victory dance. It's just like maybe
That was that
Maybe
thing he was
that's-
doing at the house. Yeah, he was doing the victory.
yeah,
dance.
yeah. He's doing the victory dance, and he's it's like, y'all missed this, didn't you? You missed it. Say it. Say it like you mean it. The ba-ba-doo-da, sad and lonely. Wait, that's a different song. And yeah, it's like, no.
Blood and
Calm
fire
down,
he could just be doing a raw, a medium steak on the barbecue.
Good.
Maybe we're reading too much into this.
Yeah,
Dave's a
it's like,
barbecuer.
we've been going about this all wrong. It's all about cooking. Yeah, this song's about cooking.
It's Dave's up
don't
for
say that.
breakfast.
Somebody on Twitter is gonna rip us now. It's not about cooking. If you knew your Van Halen trivia, you would know.
Just insert gif of just
Fuck off, we're drinking, we're having fun. Here we go.
Yeah,
You're gonna
shut
get
the
a
fuck
great
up.
fucking guitar solo here.
all right.
My favorite
Oh,
solo
man.
on the album is from this song. I love that solo.
I'm going to throw something out to you, Mark, quickly.
Okay.
That sounds to me like Eddie Van Halen. If Eddie Van Halen had to go play a solo on a GNR record and he had to kind of play a bit like Slash, because it's super bluesy. He's not like he's putting all the little flourishes, like the little up the neck. He's putting all that stuff and he's putting those little flourishes in there. But the notes he's playing and the sort of the choices around that's just pentatonics, which he doesn't always necessarily stick to, which is super cool to hear because it fits the song, but it's not a typical Eddie solo to my ear.
If your name is Slash or well, Kirk Hammett for that matter, yeah, the pentatonic scales are your friend, and you're gonna wear that shit out like it's going out of style, and even when it's out of style, you're still gonna do it. Yeah, I can hear in that regard, I can hear the kind of Slash-ism in
Yeah.
that sense. But I'll tell you something, I could give you a more in-depth analysis if I felt the solo was brought out a little more. It's not very bright. Because it sounds muddled and muffled underneath everything else because the low end is so high. The drums are clear. You can hear everything Alex is doing. But something about, I mean, Eddie is kind of weird in the mix as it is, but you would think with the solo is like, okay, you guys got to crank him. You got to crank him loud, especially for a solo like that. Crank that shit up as high as you fucking can. Like put the solo in everyone's ears and in their faces. And I mean, just based on the sound, that's what I felt like it should have been. And that's not what I got there. On a technical standpoint, just from what Eddie is playing, phenomenal stuff. But again, it's hard. It's hard for me to really judge it because it's like, there's so much that's kind of lost in the mix because the production is just not good.
You know, Scott Haskins said something to me he was a guest on my pod a couple, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, and he said something that I found interesting. I'd never actually thought about it in this context before, but he said that the guitar solo really replaces your lead vocal. So wherever your vocal is in the mix, that's where your solo should be. And that's a good sort of barometer on this song because it definitely isn't. It's a lot lower than Dave's vocal. Dave's vocal is very clear. This solo isn't. So that's a production issue. And it's a stylistic choice too, I think, sometimes. But I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
As a musical idiot, I didn't mind it because I thought it married to the drums so well and what Alex was doing. Like because they meshed together so good, I didn't quite mind it. Do I wish it was more like Nuno on Rise from that great album that you enjoyed so much, Kevin, where it's just out front and everybody else is just hanging back and letting him do his thing? Sure. But just the nature of that solo and how it was constructed, I thought really worked really well with the drums and with the bass too. So as a musical idiot, as I mentioned, I was okay with it.
No, that's still a really good perspective. Me personally, I wish that if for all the production's fault, I wish at least that had been rectified a little more. Like just turn the gain up on Eddie just a little bit right there.
Push the slider a little higher.
Push it because like he's doing a lot. He is doing a lot on this solo, and everyone needs to hear what he's doing. So
you know what happened? Eddie went out for a smoke, and Alex is like, just bring that slider down a bit. You don't need that much fucking guitar.
Like,
need more cowbell.
He's not gonna say shit, and if he does, I'll talk to him. It's fine. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like Wolfie, look away. You don't see this.
We should also mention that neither Mark nor I are experts either, nor would we ever say we were. So
no.
That's Corey setting us up for failure there, mate. I think he's just threw us under the bus a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. Josh in the chat says the solo reminds him a bit of Aftershock, so a little bit from Balance there. So yeah. I'd be okay if they took Dave's slider down a little bit.
Yeah, especially on that little bit.
Yeah, you go tell him that.
Right.
Good fucking luck, yeah.
Can always tell the winner, saints and the sinners down at the starting line. Oh yeah! We came through blood and fire. We came through blood and fire. We came through blood and fire.
Just love those bell hits. Al, man, it's just so good. That's so Alex, right?
His cymbal work is so fucking
so
good. Like as a drummer, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate his cymbals more than anything. Everyone always talks about the snare, but listen what he does on the cymbals. It's fantastic.
And there's that little guitar thing that I was talking about. That progression, that little chord chase, and ending on that big. I don't know. I think it might be a seventh, right? But that's little guitars to me. That's always throws me back to. So that's why I always kind of land with this stuff that's written earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's some of those things where it's the similar phrase, and maybe that's why they don't put it on the album, or it gets rejected. It's like, well, it's a little bit too similar, or maybe it's just repeating the same kind of stuff. So maybe that's why it didn't make it. But I don't know.
All right. Well, before we get to the voting round, it's time to play my favorite game, and I'm going to cue up my favorite music cue here. All right. The question becomes, gentlemen, how many times did Van Halen perform Blood and Fire? I might keep this instead of The Price is Right. I don't know. What do you think? Got a pina colada in your hand. You're thinking about all the beautiful girls around the world because that rhymes.
Mark, we could just leave now and let Corey get on with it himself if he's going to do this to us. It's disrespectful.
All right, we're playing the
Almost
game.
did.
We're going to start
play
with
the game.
Kevin Brown because he loves this song so much. How many times did Van Halen perform Blood and Fire live?
I don't know how many times they played after Different Kind of Truth. I can't imagine that they left this off. It's a song that Dave can sing. Like I said, it's in his mid-register, so I think it's fairly comfortable for him. So let's say that if they played, I don't know, 120 shows after this was released, I don't know. I would say probably then 85. I'll go with 85.
85? Okay, 85 times. Mark Meyer, even though the music doesn't back it up, you have to get closest to the actual number without going over. How many times did Van Halen perform Blood and Fire live?
70 times.
You're both way over.
Oh,
The correct
okay.
answer is 4.
Okay. Wow. So my logic was absolute dog shit then. That's good.
They played it February 8th, March 26th, March 28th, and March 30th, 2012, and that's it.
I'm a little bit surprised by that because I think this would do well as a live track. Like I said, with Dave in his frail dotage, not with his Zimmer frame hobbling around stage a little bit, I think he could probably actually get away with singing something close to this live. So
And it was right in the middle of the set. It came after You Really Got Me and right before Dance the Night Away.
dude, can we turn off the Justin Timberlake shit?
I'm just going to keep this playing.
You're making my heart sad.
Don't give Gary an excuse to sue us.
Yeah, there you go.
All
You're a
right.
sadist,
All right.
Morissette,
Wow.
a sadist.
Ugh. Yeah. It's too much of that Mariano influence, I can tell you.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly.
bad for
Well,
you.
Kevin refused to have me back on the Queen show, so this is how I get back at him.
I can't imagine why, but
I know.
there you are. Blood.
It's because I
and-
suck at this. I'm
No,
just I'm just here because I know how to
taking
push
over-
the buttons.
Oh yeah.
yeah, you're taking over every podcast one at a time. So it's trust me, you're doing fine. But before you take over the entirety of the podcasting airways, it's time to vote on Blood and Fire. And I'm gonna throw it to Kevin because hey, you're the guest, and that's just how it goes. So, Kevin, Blood and Fire from A Different Kind of Truth. Would you say that it is what dreams are made of, or is the dream over?
Yeah, man, I'm just basing this off the song itself. The mix is pretty bad. Like you said, Mark, it doesn't sound great, but there's enough there for me to really like this song. I think the lyrics are weird, but they're fun. They're throwaway. They're interesting. It's party rock Van Halen. I don't know. It swings. It's cool. I like it. It's a good song.
Well, there you go. Short and sweet, just keeping it right to the point. Didn't want to get into a mini manifesto like some of our other listeners. Fine, respectable.
I can do that if you want me to.
Well, now let's hear what Corey has to say first before we go into that. We do have a Discord though, and if you guys want to jump in on the Discord for the show, join the Patreon, and you can do that, and you'll have all the manifestos you could possibly dream for or not dream for. Either way, speaking of dreams, Corey, Blood and Fire from A Different Kind of Truth. Would you say that you would agree with Kevin and that it is what dreams are made of, or was the blood a little too messy and the fire just completely snuffed out any of your enthusiasm?
The mix definitely didn't bother me as much as it bothered you guys. I generally like John Shanks. He does a lot of Bon Jovi now, and he's used to mixing a pretty good guitar player. I know, Kevin, you're a pretty big fan of Phil X, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, that guy's a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Talking about, and a little bit of segue there, but if you were ever to sort of put a Van Halen tribute together and you wanted to bring someone out who could get close enough to Eddie, and sort of really understand the way he played, Phil X will be your guy because he fucking loves Eddie Van Halen. And that guy can play like that guy. Putting that guy in Bon Jovi is like putting, that's the issue, 26-inch rims on a wheelie bin. It's just, there's no need for Phil X to be in Bon Jovi.
What is a wheelie bin? You mentioned that on the Sean Geek show too. Is that a wheelbarrow?
No, like your garbage can, but it's got wheels on it.
Oh, okay.
Because when I grew up, Corey, I grew up in England. I grew up in black and white, and so our garbage cans didn't have wheels on them. We had to carry the goddamn things down to the end of the yard. So
back in my day,
like mongrels, we had to carry the trash can. You fucking kids in your wheels.
Mama had to carry that trash can down half a mile down the road to the cherry tree, and that's where they picked that sucker up.
And in Saskatchewan, it was minus 40 with knee-high snow.
Uphill both ways.
Yep. But yeah,
I mean, you just described my parents having to put out their garbage cans at their homes in Mississippi
Nashville.
dirt roads.
Oh,
no,
Mississippi.
When they grew up in Mississippi. So yeah.
Wow.
Does it snow in Mississippi?
Not even, except that one time I was in college there.
Just quickly, Mark. How offensive were our southern accents? Were they like?
I wasn't even trying a southern accent. I don't know what you guys.
Okay.
Offensive, not so much. And you
just crap.
Good job. Yeah, just
I tell you what.
No, that's because the thing is, there's so many people that sound like that or sound worse that it's like at this point, do a southern accent, and I can't even be mad at it anymore because like, no, some Southerners do sound like that, and I can't defend it.
You guys ever hear of a guy by the name of Brantley Gilbert?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Don't think so.
I was just at a Nickelback concert. He opened for
Yikes.
Nickelback, and he was like a country slayer.
That's about right.
Like, yeah, he was trying to fucking play like heavy metal but country, and I didn't know what the hell to think. Like his
I thought that was Sturgill Simpson's whole bit.
I don't know what the fuck it was, but I couldn't understand what the fuck he was saying. Or I'd like to dedicate this song to the men and women of the American Armed Forces. He was in Canada, and I guess Canadian Armed Forces too. But here we go. Here's some shitty heavy metal country music for y'all.
Anyway, brother, here's Wonderwall. It's like,
He did play a little
believe
Shine
it.
from Collective Soul, so I was like, hey, there's a song I know.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an odd
Probably-
one to pick out.
I tell you what,
It's,
here's something for you, Kevin Brown. Nickelback, Brantley Gilbert, and the other country bumpkin, some John Ross or Josh Ross, they all did Copperhead Road by Steve Earle, and it wasn't that bad.
Fuck off. It would have been terrible.
Maybe I just love
Fuck it,
that song, and I was so happy
believe
there was
you.
a
think
song
it
I
was
liked.
awful.
Yeah, I'm
but
a big Steve Earle fan.
Brantley
I
Gilbert
love
doing
Copperhead Road.
Bradley Gilbert doing a Collective Soul song actually does not surprise me because if he's spent a lot of time in Nashville, he probably heard Collective Soul a lot because Nashville loves Collective Soul. So,
Oh, really?
I love Collective Soul. I'm going to see him in
they do.
August.
They're
great.
good. They're a good band, but I mean, like they have they've had a big following here for many years. So yeah, that doesn't shock me.
Kevin, they're hitting the fair in Saskatoon this August.
Are they
Check 'em
really?
out. Yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely have to go out. Yeah, no, I love a lot of their stuff. Heavy's a great
These are-
album.
They're playing Regina like a couple of weeks after, but the first concert I ever took my wife to, she'd never been to a concert before,
gonna-
was Collective Soul.
They're gonna experience
cool.
that city.
That's right. They're going to experience Regina, if you will. Show us your vagina, or sorry, show us your Regina was their slogan for a bit, until enough people complained.
Rhymes
So
with
no people
fun.
complains.
Yeah, the city that rhymes with fun. But anyway, I liked Blood and Fire. Mark, we should get back to the voting. Blood and Fire, Mark and Meyer. Is this what dreams are made of, or is the mix too bad and the dream is over?
This is why I was stalling.
Oh boy.
There are some good things happening in this song, so I want to start with that. As you guys have very brilliantly pointed out, everything Alex is doing is superb. You want good Alex Van Halen drumming, you want a good example of just the kind of fun shit he can do. This is a good song for that. I mean, there's a lot to choose from, but this is a good one that really sort of showcases Alex. You just got to listen for it, and lucky you, he's pretty clear in the mix. I cannot say that for everybody else. I mean, the bass is in your face, but as Kevin pointed out, it's very muddled, and maybe that just has to do with the fact that like Wolfie's playing it as opposed to he's not going to play the same way Mikey is going to play the line. So a lot of contributing factors. But I'll say mix aside, let's just take we already know the mix sucks. So the mix being so bad does hurt the song for me. I find the song very just from a Van Halen standpoint, very uninspiring. I don't find it to be a very like party rocking Van Halen tune that we know they're good at. It does not work for me in that regard. It sounds to me, and maybe it's because this is a recycled track from the 80s, and they're doing it here in like 2011, 2012, you know, whenever they actually recorded before it was released. And it just, what really hurts it, I'll say it. What really hurts the song is Dave. Dave is the worst part about this song. The lyrics are whatever the hell they are, but also I feel very strongly if they had produced this song back in 84, when, you know, originally, I think Dave would have been in better voice. The lyrics would probably have been better because he was in a different mind space. Maybe it wouldn't have been better. Maybe they would have been worse, but he would have sung it better. There are some good things happening in the verse in terms of vocals. I think the harmonies really help Dave out, but you take those harmonies out and it just sounds bland. There's a lot happening with Dave just not sounding like Dave to me in the song. He tries. There's some moments where he tries. It just doesn't come across because this isn't the same David Lee Roth that everyone is so gung-ho about. This is 2012 David Lee Roth. I can't say anything bad about everybody else in the band because everyone's playing all right. The bass is muddy. I'm not a fan of that. I would have really loved to have heard this solo, the Eddie Van Halen solo, kicked up a few notches. I think that solo deserved to be really in your face and you like listen to what's happening here. But because it wasn't, that hurt it. On top of the fact that everything else is happening, and I don't know. I listened to this song. I listened to everything you guys had to say about it, and I just felt nothing about it. I don't imagine I would listen to the song and immediately want to go to it again. So that's the nicest way I can put it, I guess. Is like I didn't hate this song. Let me point that out. Did not hate it, but it was not my favorite.
I'm warning you, Morissette. I'm warning you. We've got another 2 hours of podcasting to go.
It's not worse than Extreme's Beautiful Girls. I'll put it that way, based on the minute I've heard of it. But it's just not, it just doesn't really do it for me. So if I'm just being completely honest, though I didn't hate the song, I don't really think it is what dreams are made of. So for me, nope, Dream is over.
You brought up the harmonies, and I agree with you on that point. Wolfie was getting some shit online lately from a fan who said, I saw you in concert and you were miming to Anthony's melody, and that's such horseshit.
That.
It's like, what the fuck, dude? And then it turns out he even got like the concert wrong. Like you didn't even see them on that tour, you dumb shit. Like that's how fucking dumb Twitter is. I'm gonna go tell this celebrity who I don't know, who doesn't want to hear from me, and tell him I think you're full of shit. You play the tracks and mime vocals all the time, which is just horseshit.
This is my 15 seconds to get a reaction out of this rock star, and if he does, then I'll feel better about my meaningless existence.
Like Wolfie's got more talent in his little fingernail than most of these people. Really, I mean, because that kid is unfucking believably talented. That new record,
with him.
The first Mammoth record, I thought was one of those just like, this is good. I'm not sure it's a great record, but I think there's like lots to build on. From what I've heard from this second one, it's like, oh, this kid could actually end up being big now. Like this could propel him to that next level because that new song he just released, man, fuck, that's good. It's so
took it up. He cranked it up a notch from album one, and I love album one. I don't know if there's a skippable song on it. It's great stuff. But I think this one he's cranked it up a notch, especially that first track he released. I think he had to. Yeah.
I don't think, based on the success and the high praise critically his previous album got, I don't think he had a choice but to kick it up a notch. It's like you have to follow it up with something. I mean,
he has so many unnecessary haters that just want to rag on him for being Eddie's kid. Well,
It's
you're
'cause
nothing
he's-
like your
yeah,
dad. Yeah,
You're
it's
just like,
fuck
you're not
off.
Eddie Van Halen, and so therefore we're gonna let you know that you're not Eddie Van Halen. It's like, you think he doesn't fucking know that? You think he's out there? Yes, he's trying to pursue a career in music, but he is not trying to be his dad. That could not be more evident if you
Agreed.
Oh, you're trying to
actually
make it.
listen to what he's doing. Yeah.
You're making a career off your dad's name. He named the album Mammoth. He won't even use his own fucking name on the album. He's playing every instrument on it.
Yeah.
He's singing every track. He can't call it Wolfgang Van Halen because people give him shit, so he called it Mammoth.
Well, and there you go. I mean,
Okay.
that's one thing. He's got
Yeah.
one thing his dad never had is a really good singing voice, right? I mean,
Yeah.
or at least the confidence to do it. That's, you know, so
Especially on lead. Like Eddie,
Yeah.
He
background
tried.
vocalist, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, great
Yes,
harmony
yes.
vocalist, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the string. And if you are a strong, background vocalist or just a strong harmonizer, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. People, if that's your wheelhouse, then just own up to it.
Yeah.
Eddie's tried leads. We've heard him try lead vocals, and it's like, okay, that's it's like, yeah, maybe all right, you did that thing, so now you can say that you did it, and you don't ever need to do that ever again. It's
It
fine.
was not a good time. I did not enjoy that.
It just-
I was going to ask you though, Mark. Yeah, because we're talking about the lyrics in Blood and Fire, and again, like, there's that one verse that's a bit. I think like the third verse is basically, oh fuck, I've got nothing else here. But I like that the opening verse. You can always tell the winners, the saints and the sinners, down at the starting line. I'm a lucid vision of the unforgiven. I'm your wave toss. I think that's kind of, I don't know. That's a pretty good
What
one.
is-
I wonder
I
when
don't
that
know
was
what
written.
a
Then.
wave toss guy is. I don't know
A
what
wave
that
toss
means.
guy.
wave toss guy?
A surfer who's missed the edge. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sure.
The words that
I'll
go
take
together.
your
They're
word
both words.
Yeah, it's just that, he follows it up with I mean, actually, I kind of like the follow-up lines a little bit better. They're just like, king size, we were crushing, trouble by the dozen, stakes have never been higher, all that stuff is like, oh, okay, cool, so what are you trying to say here? And then he never really gives us a good resolve from that.
Yeah,
But it's like, all
that's
right,
fair.
well, you were on the right track, and then you lost me, and then I think you lost yourself too, based on what I'm hearing vocally.
That's fair enough.
Maybe it's more about him rejoining the band. King size repercussions, trouble by the dozen, the stakes have never been higher. When David Lee Roth rejoins Van Halen, that's a pretty big deal, right? So
very well could be. But again, and I just think if that is the case, and you're calling this song Blood and Fire, like, part of me thinks is like, I feel like this song should have been bigger, like bigger riffs, bigger quality, definitely bigger quality, but just like this should have been more of a statement track, if that's the case. If lyrically that's what it's about, you're calling it Blood and Fire, and you're gonna speak about this, I feel like the track should have been a bigger thing. But hey, what do you do?
I'm really curious to
What
see
do
how
you
the poll goes on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
I think this will be. I think this one's really hard to call.
Yeah.
I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like, it's
I think
let's try and predict.
just-
Let's steal something from Seaside. Kevin, what do you think the poll is going to be?
there's a lot of Dave love out there, right? And I don't think the
Yeah.
Sammy guys really lay into. So I'd probably go like maybe, like, I'll go 81-19. I'll say. I think it'll still be high because I think it's a production aside, and I your objections are completely valid, Mark. I still think there's enough there that, especially the Roth guys, will dig. So
sure. And so for me, based on the fact that it is a Roth era, I mean, it's his return, but it's still a Roth era, and as you say, based on that, that's automatically going to get a lot of upvotes just because. And based on everything else, so I definitely think it's going to be more of an upvote than a down. I'm going to say it's going to be more of like, though, I think a 75-25 split. That's what I think.
cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Mark. Just looking at the stats for A Different Kind of Truth. The highest ranked song on here is Stay Frosty, 82.5%. What Dreams Are Made Of. She's the Woman who's 81.1. Everything else is in the 70s. I'm kind of feeling like a 78-22 in favor.
That's
You look at
probably
the song,
accurate.
Yeah, it's kind of, I compare the song a lot to like a song like Out of Space, which was 77.5%, or You and Your Blues was 79.6. Chinatown, which I would put above this song, was only 76.9. So
I'm kind of surprised, yeah, that Chinatown didn't get a higher vote considering the other tracks. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
I'll say
So
honestly,
yeah, that's
this might
Go ahead.
be my favorite song in isolation. Might be my favorite track from this album so far. To be perfectly honest with you,
oh well.
Oh wow.
I don't know. I'll have to go back and through and listen to the whole thing again, but it's the only one where I've been like, I think this might actually end up on my playlist. So
You sure it's not Honey Baby Sweetie Doll? You sure?
no,
I like that song. Fuck off.
Oh,
I'm gonna
I
play
know-
Beautiful
I know
Girls
you
again.
do.
Here we go.
You were gonna do that anyway,
there's a
I'm sure.
fucking leave button.
Ugh.
Hey.
I weep for the next recording show that Kevin and Corey do together, where Kevin's in control because Corey's gonna be in for a whole world of just misery.
You
But,
should see what he made me listen to today. That's all I'll say.
There
Hey,
you go. You guys tune in.
I do believe that the choice of artists was kind of a group effort. I don't think I made you listen to anything, my friend.
It's
I didn't realize they
Don't
had
you put all
albums
this on
before the
me.
one I liked, though.
I know what a revelation that is when that happens with bands. And look, it's gonna happen. You're gonna fall into like Van Halen. There's gonna be an era of Van Halen you're gonna really love, and you're gonna completely forget that there were multiple eras of Van Halen because they were around for a very, very long time. And whatever your era is, obviously the bias is gonna go that way. So I'm sure there is someone out there who is in love with a different kind of truth and says like this right here is peak Van Halen. So, and if you are one of those people, or if you're in the masses, let us know. Head over to our Twitter at Podcast Will Rock and tell us how you feel about not only a different kind of truth, but also the song Blood and Fire. You heard our votes, 2 yays and a 1 kind of meh. I downvoted, but it was more of like meh. It wasn't of, oh, this song sucks. It was like, no, it's just kind of like, I felt nothing. But don't let my vote influence you. Tell us how you voted. So there you go, you guys. Another one in the books, another track down, and one step closer to the final destination. But we're not there yet. We still got quite a few. Kevin Brown, it's always a fun time when you're on the show. It's always a good time hearing your thoughts, your perspective. You're, like I said, you're an honorary member of the show at this point. Like there's a small handful of you that I would consider, and you're definitely at the top tier there. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you so much, man. Anything you want to plug and let the people know what you got going on? I think you, like Corey, are trying to take over the podcasting waves. Let them know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into Tom Petty, like if you're not into Tom Petty, don't go listen to my podcast because it's just a big geek on his music. But you can follow the Tom Petty Project on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Tom Petty Project, and on Twitter at Tom Petty Project. If you want to check out my Queen podcast, that's Twitter at Queen Seaside or on Facebook at Seaside Pod Review. But I just wanted to shout out quickly, if you're not a Patreon for this show already, it's super cheap. And anyone who does a podcast knows that it takes a lot of effort. I won't say work because it's not work if you're doing what you love. But Corey and Mark put in a shit ton of effort to make sure that this show is awesome every single week. There's so many of us who depend on it as part of our listening every week. So if you can afford, I think like the lowest one is like $3. Go throw in $3 a week, a month or something. Like it's super easy. So yeah, go support really cool people doing really cool shit.
Thank you, man. Yeah, you heard Kevin. Don't spend your $3 on that tall size from Starbucks because $3 is probably the cheapest one you're gonna get, and that's not cheap for coffee. So say nay to that and join our Patreon. We will definitely have a tier that is right for you, and if we don't, let us know. We'll make it. We will absolutely cater to you. We are not above it. So if the money's right, we'll do just about anything. So don't threaten me with a good time. Just show some support. Help us keep the light on. And if you don't want to contribute to the Patreon, cool, you can still support us. Go to podcastwillrock.com. We have a merch store. As a matter of fact, a lot of that merch designed by Kevin Brown, our own Kevin Brown, because sometimes we say absurd shit on the show, but it's funny, and Kevin will make a shirt out of it, and that makes it even funnier. And so you should definitely be in the know. You'll be a part of like a secret group. You're in the know. And when people ask you what that shirt is all about that you're wearing, you go like, you have to listen to this podcast and then you'll know. So, spread the word, you guys. People love crazy shirts, but they really love it when they're in on a secret that nobody else knows. So buy a shirt, buy some merch, keep the secret safe, but spread it very subtly. It's not like Fight Club where you don't talk about it. Like, no, talk about it. Let people know, because people like Van Halen. There you go. So, Corey, would you please let the people know where you are dominating the podcast airwaves these days?
Yes, you can find all your favorite shows on the Deep Dive Podcasting Network, featuring myself, John Mariano, and Scott Haskin, doing a little show called Backtracks Aerosmith Revisited. John and I also do a show called Backtracks Theme Music, where we're breaking down our favorite songs from our favorite movies. Scott does his solo show, Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast, which is about ready to wrap up. So go back and check that one out. He's getting very close to 100,000 downloads. So good on him. Woo-hoo. Go check out that show. We have our good buddies Nate and John at the Deep Purple Podcast, The Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered, Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side, Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast, Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods, Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge, Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z, Daniel and Josh at Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Aussie Podcast, Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Podcast, George and Hattie at the Judas Priestcast. Man, did they have a great June. Go back and check out George and Hattie at the Judas Priestcast. They are fucking killing it over there. Had a great Pride Month. Great content all the way through. Go check out those shows. Clay and Riot North by South Podcast, Greg and Jonathan at So Far So Pod So What, our good friend Kevin Brown at the Tom Petty Project, and with his good buddy Randy Woods at Seaside Pod Review, Quinn at N Volume for All, Sav, Nick, Steve, and Mark at the Rock Roulette Podcast, and Chaz and Greg at the Unfortunate Regarding Lulu. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go on their final episode or not. He put out the call to everybody on the Deep Dive chat there, Kevin, so you could join that show, that final episode, if you want. I don't know, which way are you leaning?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Because I've listened to, I'm not a huge Metallica fan, and I'm definitely not a Lou Reed fan, but listening to that album, it's very interesting. And I definitely have things to say about it. But I don't know if I want to go on and just trade. I should just go on there and I should just join the cult of Mariano and go on there and just create fucking havoc, right?
All right.
Look,
other shows.
It's Chaz's podcast, so chances are, it's going to be just chaos anyway.
Well, that last one especially, but other shows you should go check out, of course, our good buddy Sean Geek and Fast Fred at the Sean Geek and Fast Fred podcast. We just had Kevin Brown on as a guest, part 1 anyway. Sounds like there's a part 2 dropping the next week or so. Also, You're All Doomed, a Friday the 13th podcast, the DLR cast, the Bogus Otis show, Pod of Thunder, the recognized symbol of excellence in rock and roll podcasting, Booked on Rock with our good buddy Eric Senich, Dissect That Film, and Three's Company 2, a rewatch podcast. I think that's all of them for now. Kevin and I are working on a top secret project. We're not ready to announce it yet, unless Kevin's ready to drop the ball here. I don't know. Are you ready?
Wait. Is it a podcast dissecting Top Secret, like the movie? Because that's awesome.
I wish. We're gonna do that on theme music pretty quick though, because I want to do some skeet shooting.
Hey-o.
What we could do, Corey, is maybe we could tease out. I don't know. Maybe we could say what the general format is without giving away the first artist.
Okay. I'll let you handle that.
So what we decided to do is, because we're on, you've got your Van Halen, Aerosmith, I've got Tom Petty and Queen. So we're locked into one artist. What we thought would be kind of nice to do is have a show format where we could cover multiple artists. So the general idea is that we take an entire discography and each episode is a half of one album. So let's say it was Bryan Adams, let's say, we do the first side of Reckless, the second side of Reckless, the first side of Waking Up the Name, the second side. And what we're going to do is going to give, so we've got this little formula, which we can tell you about when we launch, how we're going to score these things. And it's on 3 criteria. And then we combine our scores, because what we're looking for is, what is the best album in this artist's catalog? And it's very scientific, obviously, right? Yeah. And we've got a little twist in there too, that sort of to decide what the next artist is that we cover after them. So each season is one artist. So it's a lot of fun. And yeah, Corey's been exposed to some stuff that I know has been a little bit challenging for him so far. So it's great.
To put it lightly, yeah.
Yeah.
Great is not the word I would use, but yeah. I'm looking forward to brighter days.
That sounds fun, man. That's gonna fit in right along the Deep Dive Network. It's gonna fit along with I think fans of our show will really appreciate that. If nothing else, it's to hear you two jokers just go back and forth at one another, and that's always good fun. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, you guys. I'm sure more details will come in time. So soon or later, but more likely soon, Corey and Kevin both are just going to just dominate the podcasting game, and there's nothing you all can do about it except for to sit back, listen, enjoy, and accept. And that's kind of what we hope you do here. Like, listen, we love Van Halen. We're not experts. I have to point that out every time because it's important for you guys to understand. If you don't know already, we are not experts. We are not rock historians. We are just simple fans going through a journey, and a lot of you have been taking this journey with us, and it's been amazing. It's been awesome, and we're still going. So just bear in mind that sometimes when we make guesses, assumptions, or have informative things to say, it's all doing it from the fans' perspective. Okay, we're not gonna insist that I know exactly what Ted Templeman was thinking the moment they recorded this because I just am that good. No, I'm not that good because I don't know. I wasn't there. That was a little bit before my time, but I know what the end result was. So there you have it. That's what we're all about. So join us next time. Go share with your friends if you haven't already. Tell your people about it. We are not the only Van Halen podcast in existence, but we are, I mean, we're at least a higher tier one, I like to think. So tell your friends, tell your family, people who love Van Halen. It's like, hey, you should check out this podcast from these guys who listen to it and see if you absolutely agree with what they're saying, or if you just hate them so much that you must email them lengthy emails to tell them how much they're sucking. Either way, bring it on. Or just come at me at Mark the Bat on Twitter. I will gladly tweet spar with you just because I don't care. So on behalf of Corey, Kevin Brown, our guests, and myself, we are, and the podcast will rock, and we will rock you later.